Welcome to another episode of Off the Menu. I'm Vincent Franchini from Tumblr House, here with the recuperative Charles Coulombe.
Recuperative? Well, I like that.
Not necessarily recuperating, but you have the ability to recuperate.
If I want to, I'm sure I can. As it stands, I'm still a bit under the weather, but for the sake of our beloved audience, and so that the people upstairs won't knock me around anymore, can you imagine they wake me up at 7 a.m. and drag me out of bed? You gotta get to the studio. I like that.
Unbelievable.
You know, I try to tell them I'm a talent. I'm an artist. I can't create under these conditions. You know what their response was? Yeah, well, try to spend your creativity on your bills, pal. And suddenly I'm here. Anyway, no, but I, nevertheless, despite being recuperative, and I hope to recuperate at some point, I am here.
Yeah, let me just explain. We're filming this on Monday, so you people who wake up and see the show, the reason why it hasn't been posted yet is because we haven't done it yet.
That's right.
Because this poor man over here has been sick as a dog all week, so we've had to wait till Monday.
Yep.
So now it's Martin Luther King Day.
It's Martin Luther King Day. Very happy about that. I'm was able to post on my own Facebook all sorts of Catholic, Black, historic stuff. And also I'll take a shout out at the Golden Heritage comic books. You've never heard of these?
No, never.
Well, I grew up with them, and they're still in print. And what they were and are comic books about various famous Black Americans, and some non-Americans, like Toussaint Louverture, the father of Haiti. And they're really, really fascinating things. George Washington Carver.
They turn them into superheroes, or like?
No. They're regular histories.
Oh.
They're like Classics Illustrated, only focusing on particular blacks.
Oh, I see.
They came out about 1966, and my dad gave them to me to read when I was a kid. So I read them alongside the Silver Age of DC comic books and his collection of really horrific EC comics of the 50s, Tales of the Crypt and things like that.
Oh.
And Classics Illustrated, Gold Key Comics, Dell. I was a big comic reader when I was a kid.
That's surprising. I don't know why that's surprising, but I find it surprising.
Wow.
Because it's not necessarily an erudite, scholarly endeavor.
Well, you may think so, but I'm going to tell you a little secret here and now. When I finished first grade, my reading was abominable. I could not read very well.
Oh, okay.
Well, see, for other families, this wasn't a problem, but it was a problem for me. Why, you ask? I'll tell you. My father subscribed to American Heritage magazine, which is starting up again, by the way. So, apart from Golden Heritage comic books, you can get online and look at the American Heritage, totally separate outfit magazine. They're starting up again. Great magazine. In those days, hardcover. But they had all sorts of articles on different aspects of American history. Well, one of those things would come in. My parents would read it, my brother would read it, and they'd talk about it at the dinner table. But I had to sit there like a bump on a log because I couldn't read. So, that summer between first and second grade, that glorious summer of 1967, while the kids up north were having their summer of love, I was having my summer of literacy. And I started reading comic books and Mad Magazine. By the time that summer was finished, I was reading American Heritage.
Wow.
So I could take part in the conversations.
Wow. There you go. You want to become a scholar? Read comic books.
True story. If you're going to Hollywood, be sure to bring a comic in your hand.
Is that a song?
Well, it's a parody that I'm going on the spot.
Of going to San Francisco?
Yeah, because that was the summer of love.
Yeah.
As I say, for me, it was the summer of literacy. The other kids were tuning in, turning on, and dropping out. I was just learning to read.
Wow. Anything else today?
Well, anything else? Oh, well, speaking of Martin Luther King Day, you know, Oprah has thrown a turban in the ring.
Yeah.
I think this is great. I want to see Trump versus Oprah in 2020.
Why?
See how you want.
You know, never mind. You know, I know why.
No, but you see, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, this is turning it even to more of a circus than it already is.
That was the exact word I was going to use. You like the circus. You like the circus.
Listen, nobody has been more heartbroken than I am that Ringling Brothers has got out of business. Baby cried the day the circus came to town. Yes. So, no, I'm really enthused about it. I think it shows us up for what we are. You know, a nation of non-literates.
Well, that was my second thought. Is like when I saw that, I watched it on Fox News the other day, and I thought, wow, the people who are going to consider monarchy just doubled.
Yeah.
Because the more crazy this gets, the more people are like,
Well, see, you gotta understand something. In history, ideas have consequences. They do in regular life, too. Only history is a lot longer. And you've got more time for all the problems in a given idea to start out. So in the beginning, it can seem really great.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a bunch of guys who all have very great educations, all of them products of a monarchical society, and they sit down to design a system. A system that never produces a generation as great as they were again.
Wow.
Instead, the system continues to reproduce less and less, less. Like idiocracy.
Like idiocracy, yes.
Until
The great dumbing down.
The great dumbing down. What's not to like? And so, I think that if you took Trump and Oprah and they had a love child, it would be President Camacho.
Oh, no. Oh, wow.
Well,
that's pretty... Yeah.
Think about it. He's got the best of both of them.
Wow.
He's got Trump's tact and delicacy.
So we're one generation away from President Camacho.
That's right, if that.
Wow.
And I like President Camacho.
Yeah,
I don't know about the rest of you. I think he's great. He offers me hope. And you know how he spells it. So, no, ladies and gentlemen, my advice to all of you is keep smiling. The best is yet to be. So, as for the rest of it, Oprah, I salute you. I wonder if she's going to have Doc Phil as her running mate. Or as her campaign manager, Dr. Phil.
Oh, Dr. Phil?
Or as White House Chief of Staff, which is elected.
I don't know. Well, I mean, he does what she tells him to.
Yeah! Bark like a dog, Phil. Please, Oprah, don't make me do that. Show your loyalty, Phil, okay?
Poor Dr. Phil.
Poor Dr. Phil, it's so sad. Anyway. Emasculation is a terrible thing to watch. Anyway.
Right, let's get started.
All right.
All right. First two questions are from Jared.
Okay.
First question is, what is the significance of green as a liturgical color?
Well, green generally means that the priest is an elf. No.
No, that's terrible.
Well, that's not true either. No, it's the color of joy. It's why it is you have it during the Sundays after Pentecost are green, because it's a joyful time. It's a very, I mean, the sort of joy the Christian should feel is summed up in green.
Interesting.
Also, it gives a nice color for St. Patrick's chasuble and all those holy cards.
That too.
Just to show everybody how Irish we all are.
Okay.
Said the Frenchman to the Italian.
that's true. There we go. Jared's second question You think it's likely that any of us will live to see this season, Septuagesima, and the time after Pentecost, restored in the ordinary form calendar?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Well, number of reasons. It's already come back in the Anglican Ordinariate calendar. Pope Benedict was a big one on restoring it. And I think that after we get a pope who's interested in religion again, it'll come back.
Okay. For our next question is from our buddy again, Sylvain Duran.
Oh, Sylvain, comment ça va?
He says, greetings once again from La Belle Provence. Or however you,
It's called Quebec, my ancestral homeland.
Quebec, there we go.
Quebec. Quebec is English.
Okay.
All right.
I'm currently reading the 4th book in William Biersak's Father Baptist series, a series of novels. And I'm surprised how he so accurately describes the typical traditionalist parish. I was kind of hoping that what we have up north is not the norm, but there seems to be a pattern going on. How come the traditionalist movement is such a magnet for weirdos? And why is charity always the first casualty?
Well, that's a good question, Sylvain. Oh, sorry, I was beginning to lapse. No, seriously, Sylvain. You got to remember a few things. One is that if you went to a Novo Soto parish, it's just as weird, but with a very different dynamic. Instead of charity being the first thing to go, truth goes.
Uh-oh.
You can't have everything. Reason goes. You see, what both the trad and his opposite number, especially the older varieties in both cases, have in common is that they're the products of a trauma. Now, in the Novo Soto parish, the older people turned their backs on everything they were taught to believe in, and somehow are good with that. That creates a very particular kind of mindset. That's why anything that reminds them of tradition, they get very upset about, because they feel guilty. And anything that makes you feel guilty, you want to smack it down. Contrariwise, with the trads, they've been through hell. They were damaged by the hierarchy for adherence to what the hierarchy had always taught them they were supposed to do. It's sort of the drunken parent syndrome. You know, when your mom or dad smack you around because they're drunk, and you're doing what a good son always does, whatever that might be. So we're talking about a whole lot of damaged goods on either side, and damaged goods always produce peculiarity of one sort or another. But people who are damaged in one way tend to be weird in this way.
Yeah.
People who are damaged in this way tend to be weird in that way, you see.
Right.
And of course there's also the fact that any interest that's out of the norm, and remember the norm is Justin Trudeau saying that anyone who's pro-life has no place in Canadian life. The norm is the state of California declaring 3 genders by act of the legislature. See, that's the norm.
Yeah.
But anything that's outside the norm will inevitably attract the odd. And if the norm itself is a screaming madhouse, basically, Sylvain, it's not a question of normal versus insane, but which ward of the great asylum in which we live do you wish to be placed in? Fortunately, there's no staff.
I've thought a lot about this, about trads and why trads are the way they are, and charity being the first casualty. I use a metaphor, pardon me for referencing this show, but I think of The Walking Dead. And I'm probably the only one that has analyzed this thematically in this way, but I like to think of it in this manner. Like in The Walking Dead or any zombie show, the people who in their time, everyone's physically dying. Right, everyone everyone is physically dying, but similarly in our age, in real life, everyone is spiritually dead. And in both situations, you have to protect yourself. The people who are still alive, they've learned how to survive, And how do they survive? You see a threat, and you effectively handle the threat.
Yeah.
And that's true in the zombie thing and in here. So with the trads, see, what we're used to, we're trad, we still have our faith because we so quickly and effectively recognize what is bad. Oh, this is bad. I'm going to neutralize this threat. This is bad. I'm going to neutralize this threat. Same thing with a zombie movie. In Walking Dead, they have trouble seeing the good in people and taking a chance on people. It's like, well, whenever I take a chance on people, somebody dies, so I'm just going to kill this right now.
Yeah.
So I think that's why.
Well,
that's why you need a balance. See, trads are.
Well, see, part of the problem is that you've got a bunch of lay people, both trads and mods, trying to answer questions and deal with problems they should never have had to have done.
Yeah.
And the fault for that lies on the hierarchy.
Right.
We should. I mean, you can get excited about state of vacantis saying this and that, and people judging for themselves whether the mass is valid or not. But stop. Who put them in that position?
Right.
Who introduced doubt when there was no need to? They're the crazy ones at the end of the day. They're the ones who took something that had problems, was functioning, and smashed it. I like to say that the post-Vatican II era is the only account I know of a cancer operation where the tumors were left intact and the healthy tissue removed. And as we see by the great scandals and so forth of our past several decades, those tumors grew well in the absence of healthy flesh.
Right. And just one other thing, because I've been thinking about this so long. I think that I can feel, because I went to the Novus Ordo for 25 years, and only past few years have I gone to the Latin Mass. But I can feel the two impulses in me warring. And I felt this very strongly when I went to Mass one day, and this person was hugely immodestly dressed. And my instant reaction was the trad reaction, like, what's the matter with you? Don't you know where you are? But then this other part came in where it's like, well, you know what? They're at the right place.
Yeah, at least she's here.
And hopefully she's at the perfect place to receive grace, to change. And the beautiful thing about the trad culture, at least in my opinion, is it's a reinforcing culture.
Well, that's true. It can be short-sighted and nasty, of course, but I don't believe, for instance, I'm a great believer, just taking that one example, I'm a great believer in the priest talking in the abstract about the need for modest dress and reminding us, if you were going to go see the president, how would you dress?
Right.
If you're really going to pretend that's God on the altar.
Exactly.
But these are specifics. I'd be very much against it, because that's how you make sure that someone is traumatized or driven out.
Absolutely.
And that, that's something you want to avoid also. But it's an art, not a science. And the thing to remember is that there's plenty of crazy to go around on all sides.
Yeah, everybody's got their own brand of fallen human nature.
Yeah, sadly. So my father used to say, if you don't like it, next time come to an unfallen planet. You won't have this problem.
Yeah. Okay, next question's from Edward Wadinsky. I'd be interested to hear Charles's comments regarding Robert Sugenis' promotion of geocentricity and how the denial of this went against God's word in Joshua that the sun stood still. And also, was the denial of geocentrism also the first step to relativism?
Oof. Well, let me say this about that. I'm going to disappoint a lot of people right now. On the geocentric versus heliocentric dispute, I am supremely agnostic. I have read tons and tons on both sides, and I am not in a position to tell you which is true. Sorry about that. But I can offer some observations. One is that, as with Solange Hertz's observations,
Right.
on the effect of electricity on culture and history and philosophy, so too with what the geocentrists have to say about the effect of heliocentrism in these areas. That's a matter of historical record. That doesn't prove one way or the other the objective truth of the matter. but it's something we never think about.
What exactly is the effect of heliocentrism?
Well, for a lot of people, it got them to question whether or not God and man were at the center of the universe, and whether this planet was the great stage upon which the whole drama unfolded, or just some little place off in the middle of nowhere, the back and beyond. And in the 19th century in particular, the great age of scientificism, it's one of the things that used to cause people problems. But what interests me more than that is the way that heliocentrists and geocentrists will excommunicate each other as though one of them had denied an article of the faith. The same kind of venom that would normally be reserved for someone who said there are only two people in the Trinity, or Our Lady was not immaculately conceived, is applied to holders of an opposing scientific theory. And that's just crazy. The whole thing with scientific theory is that they're not fixed in sand. Who knows, we may come to a point to where both heliocentrism and geocentrism are seen to be true or false.
Yeah.
And then where will the most violent advocates of either view be? So what I say is, in the immortal words of that great thinker Mao Zedong, there's a whole generation carried his red book. That very generation who are ruling us now. Don't look at me like that. See what I'm putting up with? It's not worth it, you guys up there. Send more money. Anyway, that was not in the red book. Send more money.
Oh, okay.
What was in the red book was let 100 flowers bloom, let 1,000 schools of thought contend.
Right.
Yeah, that's what he said. Of course, he used it as a way of flushing out his opponents and killing them all. But that part isn't in the little red book.
Right.
50 years ago, people were reading this stuff on college campuses like it was the Bible.
Uh-huh.
And you're giving me this look.
I'm giving you this look because this question started out on geocentrism and you've morphed it into a discussion on Mao.
Well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
It's fine.
You think Mao Zedong didn't care about heliocentrism and geocentrism? He just shot them all.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Think about that one the next time you're keen on condemning your opponents in this dispute. Remember that Mao would have had you all shot. What else? And you'd all been martyrs to the faith, by the way, so that's nice. What else you got?
So the second part of the question was the denial of geocentrism, the first step leading to relativism. So you almost seem to suggest that.
Oh, it certainly had that historic effect, I believe. Did it have to go that way? No. Did it go that way? To a degree.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next question is from Benjamin Cruz. Next three questions. Last three questions of the show. Benjamin Cruz. Thank you, Benjamin Cruz.
The rest of the show is dedicated to you, Benjamin. I don't know you, but I hope you feel this is some sort of weird privilege.
Here you go.
All right, what do we got?
I have an Eastern Orthodox friend that says Peter was Bishop of Antioch. Is there any truth behind this?
Absolutely. Peter was Bishop of Antioch, and then he went to Rome. He sent St. Mark to Alexandria, and that's why we say the three oldest sees are Antioch, Rome, and Alexandria. But the papacy stayed with Rome, not Antioch. The proof of the pudding that Antioch never claimed the primacy, and Rome did. Later, Constantinople, in token of the fact that the emperor was living there, became a patriarchate. And then last but not least, it was considered that due to being the location where all the fun stuff had happened, Jerusalem should be a patriarchate. So there were 5. And this was called the Pentarchy.
Okay.
They were all considered to be of apostolic foundation. St. Andrew being considered to be the founder of Constantinople, and St. James the Less of Jerusalem.
Okay. I actually knew the answer to this question beforehand. Do you know how I knew?
How?
I read your book,
Oh,
Vicars of Christ, History of the Popes. Right, first chapter, St. Peter, right there. So that's how I knew. Benjamin Cruz.
you'll find a lot about the popes in there.
Important book. It's not a conventional read because you go through each pope, and so it's not. Well, but it is thematic. It is thematic, and there are very important things. I actually read it like a normal book.
No.
And one of the interesting things that you pick up from reading it like a normal book is that there are themes to the crises.
Yeah.
And the church, and there's never really a time where it's like, oh gosh, the church was really, it had no problems during this time. The history of the church is the history from one crisis to the next.
Leaping from one to the other.
Oh, early Christian martyrs. Oh, and then Arian heresy. And then, oh gosh, we're done with the Arian heresy. Now
Now what's going to get us?
The schism. And then the patronage, or the, what would you call it? Where the corruption.
Oh, the pornocracy.
The pornocracy. And then the Reformation. And then the Enlightenment. It just doesn't end. It doesn't stop.
It doesn't. I think probably the most peaceful time was the reign of Benedict XIV in the 18th century.
Okay.
And so we could just isolate those 7 years out of all the church's history. Then we could all be happy.
Yeah, there it is.
He'd look a little confused. Who are all of you people? Where you come from? You every age, every time. What? Well, we've all decided, Holy Father, that yours was the best pontificate, so we're all going to live in it now.
There you go. But this, because there's a sentiment where it's like, oh, we're living in terrible times. It's never been, we've never lived in times this bad. But if you see that's why your book exists. To show you that's not correct at all.
I mean, it doesn't mean we don't live in terrible times, but terrible times, at least for some Catholics somewhere, have been the steady thing always. And very often it's been for most Catholics in most places. So,
I mean, you look at other situations, and to me, there's a lot of things to be grateful for. We have regular access to the sacraments and to Mass.
we do.
Not all Catholics, not all periods of history can say that.
No, and we've got regular access to food.
Regular access to food, yeah, absolutely.
Without being arrested, without being beaten or tortured.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, there's a lot of terrible things, but also we need to find things that I feel were, to be grateful for.
Definitely. Calm us down.
So, okay. Next question by Mr. Cruz. Do you think the Patriarchs of Russia and Constantinople are going to formally excommunicate each other? And if they do, what do you think will happen?
Well, no, I don't, because of what would happen.
What would happen?
Well, every Orthodox in the world would have to choose between them. See,
Wow.
Moscow, of course, I mentioned the Apostolic Patriarchates just now. Moscow is not one of these. Moscow was created in the 1500s to make up for the fact that in those days the Patriarch of Constantinople was chosen by the Turkish Sultan. And the Russian Tsar did not want to have the church in Russia run by such a man.
Yeah.
So they sort of have existed in an uneasy relationship ever since then. One of the things that occurred after World War I, when the communists took over and when the Turkish Republic was established, two different things happened. Peter the Great had abolished the Patriarchate and replaced it with the Holy Synod of Russia. But after the Tsars were overthrown, the Patriarchate was reestablished in Moscow. At the same time, the Turkish governing authorities stopped choosing the Patriarch. It was left by the Greek clergy. So he's free.
Mm-hmm.
But here was the big problem. In the United States, in Canada, and South America, and Australia, and so on, up until World War I, all the overseas Orthodox, not just Russian, but Greek, Serbian, Romanian, Bulgarian, Albanian, whatever, were under the Russian Patriarch. Okay? But after the Russian Revolution, not the Patriarch, because they didn't have one yet, but under the Russian Holy Synod, you get the Patriarch back after the Revolution, and that structure collapses.
Mm.
So all these different national Orthodox go running around trying to make up for it. Well, the Patriarch of Constantinople steps in and sets up his own hierarchies across the globe,
Mm-hmm.
to which the Greeks mostly adhered, and some of the others, but not all of them by any stretch. You had 3 different contending Russian dioceses, or not dioceses, setups, contending for their loyalty. You had Serbians, Armenians, Georgians, Romanians, Bulgarians, all these people running around, setting up churches and dioceses. Well, after the fall of the Soviet Union and the fall of communism, the Patriarchate of Moscow was freed from the communist government.
Mm-hmm.
So almost immediately, she tries to reassert her control over churches outside Russia, many of which are under Constantinople. So that brings them into conflict immediately.
You're right.
And not just that far out, Estonia, which was part of the Soviet Union, has a very large Orthodox population. Well, as you can imagine, as part of the whole Estonian nationalist thing, a lot of them wanted nothing to do with the Russian Orthodox Church and the Patriarchate of Moscow after independence. So they set up a separate Estonian Orthodox Church and turned to the Patriarchate of Moscow for governance and got it.
Yeah.
Well, the Russian Orthodox said, "You're poaching our territory," blah, blah, blah. The Estonian, the Patriarch of Constantinople said, "No, these people are ethnic Estonians, they want to be free from you," blah, blah, blah. Came very close. They settled the deal, though, and I think that will continue to happen. I can't imagine them actually going into a formal system. But one of the things the Catholics who contend with Orthodox and get perhaps a certain amount of abuse from them should bear in mind, it's not personal. They're far worse than each other.
So that's what the excommunication is or I mean potential excommunication before, just this turf war. There's nothing dogmatic in any.
Not really. The Constantinople tends to be a bit friendlier to Rome, but only a bit friendlier, especially since Putin has become sort of pro-papal.
Putin?
Putin, the Russian prime minister.
Oh, Putin.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
See, one of the things about the Orthodox is that their lay leadership is often more important than their religious leadership. I'll give you an example. John Paul II wanted to go to Greece. But the then Patriarch of Athens said, no, we can never come here. We won't have him soil our beautiful Orthodox Greece with his evil, foul Latin feet. Well, the Greek government took a survey of the Greek population. It turned out the vast majority of Greeks don't see any real difference between Catholicism and Orthodoxy, and were keen on seeing the Pope.
Yeah.
Well, since the Greek government owes its existence on the votes of the people, that's what happened. They explained to the Archbishop of Athens, who had been so furious, that actually he was going to be welcoming the Pope when he got there, and that he would enjoy himself. And sure enough, the Pope got there, they had a great time together, and he became a great friend of the Pope's.
How is it they are subject to the government like that? Sorry for the noob question, but...
It's an old tradition in Orthodoxy. It's perhaps unfair to call it Caesaro-Papism, but...
Caesaro-Papism?
Yeah. The emperor acts as pope. But while it would be unkind to call it that, it might not be entirely inaccurate all the time either.
Okay.
But just let that be something in the future. If you're negotiating on behalf of the Holy See with an Orthodox church, be sure you get to know the rulers of the country as well.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind if I'm ever in that position.
All right.
Final question from Mr. Cruz.
No.
And for today, what do you believe is better, constitutional monarchy or absolute monarchy, and why?
Well, to tell you the truth, it's kind of a false dichotomy, I think. Well, let me explain our terms. A constitutional monarchy is like most of them we have today in Britain and the Commonwealth and Scandinavia, the Benelux countries, Spain, where the king reigns but does not rule. The prime minister, responsible to an elected parliament, decides policy and basically does whatever he likes. The monarch, what are called the reserve powers, which are only to be used if for some reason the government goes completely haywire. It's like a fire extinguisher.
I think you said that in Star Spangled Crown, and that's how I remember it so well, the fire extinguisher.
So that's constitutional monarchy. And mind you, I think it's better than a republic. But the absolute monarchy, that's a phrase that also requires some explanation. Remember that there's never been an absolute monarchy as absolute as our republic. No king ever tried to redefine marriage, no Christian king. No king claimed to be Christian. They never murdered their infants wholesale. Herod did that.
Ooh, that's true.
So you might say we're a Herodian republic.
Wow.
You know, perhaps instead of the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, Holy Innocents' Day should be our national day, commemorating our major secular sacrament.
That I was thinking about that. I think that's very true.
Yeah, that's what we are. Murderers and insane. I'm not saying that's a bad thing to be because I don't judge being a Californian. But having said all of that, although no quote-unquote absolute European monarchy has ever been as absolute as our free republic, with judges able to change the nature of marriage just by a little wrinkle of their pointed heads. Even so, usually when you say an absolute monarchy, you're thinking of somebody like Louis XIV or Frederick the Great. That saw too much centralization, too much concentration in one hand, and had several unpleasant results. One was the creation of what we call the modern state, which is that thing that's able to change marriage and murder children and do all that.
Louis XIV had a hand in
its creation.
In its creation.
Yeah, in the sense that he created the mechanics of the state, which was supposed to administer his will. But what happened is that eventually the state realized it didn't need a king anymore. It could suck off itself.
Oh.
And that is part of what the French Revolution was about.
Oh, wow.
The modern state exhibiting itself.
Oh, I see. So are you saying Louis XIV? He helped create the modern state by centralizing the power.
Yeah.
I see.
And also by focusing the attention of the nobility and so forth away from their own provinces and into Paris, being placeholders at the court and all that.
Oh.
It gave Paris a preeminence over the rest of France that it had not had before. Which is why, there have been revolts against the king in the Middle Ages, but the rest of the country didn't care. So the Parisians have gotten crazy. Big deal. Kind of like our 92 riots.
Oh, yeah.
Those Angelinos.
Yeah.
They've got nothing better to do with themselves, so they riot. But all of this contributed toward making the perfect storm that was the French Revolution. What I favor is something approaching the medieval model of a king with real administrative power, like our president, mediating between the various subsidiary bodies of society, and all of it guided by a dominant philosophy. In this case, the Catholic Church, in my book. That, in other words, is a form of a medieval-esque, a mixed monarchy, is what I believe to be best.
How is that not an absolute monarchy? How is that not like Louis XIV version?
Louis XIV actually, as I say, could not do anything he wanted, and for a good piece of the reason for that was because of the remaining bits and pieces of what had come before. See, the medieval state was not really a state in the sense of how we think of it. There was no
Bureaucracy?
secret police,
Oh,
no huge bureaucracy,
yeah.
no internal revenue, not the stuff we need to be guided along. Otherwise, we'd all go nuts and we'd start murdering babies and having 3 genders and stuff. Fortunately, we have masters who keep us on the straight and narrow. Anyway, see what you're really. My sickness has allowed you room to do all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah, I'm taking advantage.
Yeah, I see that.
Opportunistic.
Yeah, I'll say, not unlike my cold. Anyway, as we were saying, horrible thing. As we were saying, the mixed system, which I call it medieval, but it's really not stuck at any particular time. But the idea of power in the state, in society, being very diffuse, and authority being very concentrated. What this would look like, in a lot of ways, if you can imagine our presidency being a crowned king. The president can't do anything he wants. He can do a lot more than a king can, because we vote for him. And that gives us the illusion of some kind of control.
Yeah.
So we accept a level of bossship from our master, our president, that we would not from an hereditary king, which is paradoxical.
Yeah.
But if you could imagine a king simply with precisely the powers of the president given in the Constitution, someone who, on the one hand, would determine policy, but on the other hand, if there were any extraordinary expenses required, would have to call the representatives of the people being taxed to give their consent to tax them.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, it's not really either absolute or constitutional.
I see. Okay.
But you'll find all about that if you read my book. Oh, is this a plug?
Oh, yep.
Oh, heavens to Betsy, a plug.
Star Spangled Crown, Charles Coulombe.
That's the one.
There it is.
And if you read it, ladies and gentlemen, if you order it today, read it and finish it within 2 weeks, you'll have completed the whole book.
Yes, they would. I had to think about that for a second.
Oh, you thought I was going to make some kind of offer on my own. No, I know who I work for. I ain't offering nobody nothing.
You scared me for a second.
No.
You scared me a second. Limited time.
No. I do what my bosses tell me. I'm like Dr. Phil to Oprah.
Yeah, there you go.
Please don't hurt me again.
Poor Dr. Phil.
Well, he's going to be a great chief of staff of the White House.
No, don't say that. Don't joke about that. Don't do that.
See, this is what I'm telling about, ladies and gentlemen. Where's your patriotism? Oprah represents who we are as a people. Nasty, silly, overdone.
So therefore, if I don't support Oprah, I'm not patriotic?
No, you're an American.
Wow.
You're some sort of foreigner.
You're going to land yourself a job on a political team.
I'm here for you, Oprah. You bet. You just let me know if you need a boss on the South Side. I'm here for you. What?
Okay, well, on that note, I guess that'll do it for our show.
It shows you I've got recuperative powers.
Oh, man. Yeah, recuperative powers. There we go.
Oh, let me tell you something. A paid job from an Oprah Winfrey administration, I'd recover real quick.
Yeah. Wow.
None of the work and all the talk. I'd be great.
I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to think about this anymore with any serious thought. So that will do it for today's episode. If you enjoy... Oh, yeah.
I was just going to say, it occurs to me, because I'll be seeing this later today.
Yes.
This is an emergency episode.
An emergency episode. That's right.
Because you need this kind of nonsense in your life.
Absolutely.
And we're here to give it to you.
We depend on it.
You bet.
We'll see you next time.
God bless, take care, and Merry Christmas. It's not over yet.